me, they're like, how do you have a global audience and how are you connected with people all over the world? And it is one of my greatest blessings. But I actually grew up in a town of 100 people and I moved to a town of 110. And so when it came to expanding my reach and to be able to like serve those people that were looking for me, which Karen, I believe that each person, somebody is praying for you to show up in their lives, that I really had to just expand my capability and my capacity to serve versus physically go to someplace else. So I've been online long before COVID threw everybody online. I have been that person.
Yes. And so ladies, Debbie leads like she said, a global mission, a global movement. She has people all over who come to her for community through the Be Extraordinary Women's Network, your Shine Circle, and the
Empowering You.
And so there's all these different things for people to plug in, depending on where they're at, what they're doing. And we're going to get to a little bit of that a little bit later. But you know what I'd really love to start with, because I love stories and I want to hear a little bit about your journey. So here you have this global movement and, lifting up women, connecting them, all these beautiful things. But how did you get to where you're at? How did you start? What's your background?
It's so interesting. When I look back at my journey, I'm like, how did I get here? But again, the secret to that is 100% following your joy. That's the path that I chose. I just kept following what lights me up. I looked for what people were looking for. And if it lit me up to do it, I did it. And so here I am, blessed beyond measure. But my path, as I said, growing up in a small town, one of the best jobs that you could get in this small town is an hour away. I could work at a hospital. And so I was a little girl that spent a year in the hospital, 3.5 hours away from my local town. So I used to sit on the nurse's knee playing nurse as a little girl. So I became a nurse, but I also got very burnt out and exhausted, and my body was yelling at me nonstop, and I didn't understand what it meant because I was coming from the science background about what fixes what. The thing that I needed was the mindset shift of doing everything and fixing and saving everyone to actually empowering them. And in order to do that, I needed to learn about energy.
Okay, there are so many things we could unpack there. So we can't go into everything, but ladies, how many of you relate? Here's a couple things that I picked out on what Debbie said. Burnout. You have something that you love, but you get burnt out. There's all this energy that goes into it. And yet it gets to that place where it's almost too much. It's like, and maybe you have just given everything that you have to that and served everyone to the max capacity that you have nothing left to give. I can understand. Even as a mom, a lot of times we give and give and give, and we actually get a little burnt out because we've given all of ourselves. Oh my gosh. So here you are, you're in a small town, you were a nurse, and you come to this place of burnout. So what was the pivot point? And you said, you already told us, you said that burnout. And so what was next?
Well, what was next is I had to find a new way. And in order to do that, I had to discover who I was really, not the person that was showing up to please everybody else, not the person that was saving, not the volunteer in the community, not the daughter that had been, helping raise my siblings at a very young age. Who was I? And so this is what I do for other people now. It starts with self-discovery and self-love. And I had to really learn to love myself. That's really the pivotal point. But you know what the secret was? It was that my mind was telling me one thing. My logical brain was coming from a place of trauma and reaction versus what was the truth. And I had to learn how to find the truth from within in order to be able to really embody and live that. And that's when I discovered energy work.
Oh my goodness. So coming and listening maybe to that intuition. I've heard you say that word a lot. And I love how you come to this point. And I think a lot of people do. And I see it a lot of times with women, especially in their 50s, when they come, they've done, they maybe are sending their kids off. They're coming into their own time. They're, their whole life is shifting. Maybe they're walking through menopause. All these transitions happen in those 50s. And I think a lot of women take time to start reflecting, like, who am I? I love how you said that. And, where am I going from here? What is my purpose? What is my impact? I think we start thinking a little bit differently about how we approach the world, and bringing it back to that piece of joy. How can we also have joy through this and honoring ourselves through it too? So what was next for you?
Yeah, well, once I found out that emotions actually stay in your body, they actually get locked in your body, I went down a path of taking my science, my nursing, and learning about the brain and the gut and the heart connection. And I started finding out why did it lock into your back versus why was it in your jaw versus why was your leg hurting? And I realized that disease is dis-ease. And when we're in dis-ease, we're out of alignment. And it really all made sense to me. How do I help people come back into their power, back into their truth, back into alignment so they can live their best life?
Yes, I would love to hear of whoever is listening. Where do you feel that in your body? So my story was about being invisible. So I would always feel it in my throat. I felt like I would actually lose my voice. And so I'm curious if ladies relate. Have you ever felt that tug at, maybe it's your heart, maybe it's your gut, and and you're like that, it's the emotion sitting there. And you need your girlfriends to help you unpack all that and walk through and how to use that in a good way. So what came next for you?
So interesting enough that once I got through that and I felt that I was on top of it, which it's always an evolution, I started to teach it. And I got certified in emotional resilience and coaching in that. That's why my first company was called Empowering You Community, because it's not about me, it's about you. And when you dive into you, you're going to understand what are the BS stories, what's holding you back, and where in your body is that emotion trapped, and how do we release it? But there was more, and I'll zip you right through to the more. Once I started helping people get out of their own way and let go of their old BS stories, plus their nervous systems calm down, I recognized that a lot of people were coming to me for, like, how are you finding people from all over the world? How are you coaching? How are you building this brand? And that's when, out of resistance, because I didn't tell you that between being a nurse, I actually owned 3 computer stores long before we connected, like via internet. These were 3 different stores an hour away from each other with 21 staff members. And I managed all of that, which then added to the burnout because Debbie's a slow learner and she has to be, a couple times before I realize it. The resistance I had, which again, get out of your own way. The resistance I have is I don't want to teach people tech. That's yuck. It's hard. It's different levels. But what I realized as a leader, I was being called to help those that love that, to help each version of person, whether you're a tech or photographer or a coach or a massage therapist or aroma freedom technician, that I could help all of those people get out of their own way and find the resources they needed. And that became my Empowering You community.
Yeah, isn't this interesting? So we take these pieces from our story, and I think this is why I love stories so much, is because you can see that each part of your story plays a part in where you're at today. And you get to take all those beautiful things. And sometimes, like you said, yeah, we have to walk through some of those stories a couple of times before we learn the lessons. But yeah, so how many other girls out there, their BS meter is full? Maybe it's time to set that aside and see what else is out there. And that's what I love about you, is that you take all these pieces and yet you step outside of the box and you're looking at the other direction, going, okay, here's all the pieces. Because one of the things that I love about you, not only is your heart, and you just have this way to see into somebody, but you also have the strategy and the wherewithal of how to run a business. And I think there's so much, we're taught so many things that, we have all these classes and these workshops that we do, and then they don't work for us because you don't have the whole piece like you put together. And that's what I see in you, is that you kind of see the whole, it's like a globe. You see the whole universe. And so you put all those pieces together like a puzzle.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Karen, thank you for seeing that in me and then reflecting it back to me, because that is really where I started to recognize most people's struggle, is that they didn't have, they honestly thought that if they did the one thing that somebody told them to do, that their business would expand, but they were missing just the key components. So again, looking at it from a holistic perspective, which of course, as a nurse, that's who I am. There's a root cause, but there is also a root desire, and that you only get out of your own way when you actually have the whole picture. Yeah. And I help people get really good on clarity. Again, I never want you to be the best kept secret. I never want, somebody is praying for you. So let's get you out there in a beautiful way so that they can find you. But they can't find you if you're still hiding. If you're
Right.
disconnected to your truth, they can't find you.
Right. And I think one of the things too, that as I am getting to know you, that you were really training up leaders. And you, before we came on today, you mentioned something that some of the ladies were reflecting back to you about how you are raising leaders a little differently than other people. So tell us a little bit of their reflection of what they spoke into you.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to my mentees who also mentor me back. Wow. So as a leader, there can be a story in my mind at times that I am responsible for everybody's success. Yes. And that if they don't have success the way they thought they were going to have success, that possibly I did something wrong. And that's an old wound. I'm working on that. But when I reflected something today to these women, they looked at me in shock and said, "Oh my goodness, Debbie, that is not the truth. Let that one go right away." You always lead from example. You see us where we are. You help everybody tie the knot up, the through line between what we do with you and how you've positioned us and co-branded us, and then what we do on our own, so that all we have to do is show up in our brilliance, and then we continue to have this big ripple effect. I'm sorry, I'm talking with my hands so much.
No,
but
okay.
What I heard in that is that not one of them wanted perfection. In fact, one of the ladies come back to me and said, "Debbie, if you were the leader that told me you had it all figured out, I would probably not be here, because I don't want that. I want it customizable with this flow that really helps me know that I am seen, heard, valued for what I bring to the table. And any struggle that comes up, I can just come to you and we're going to work on it together."
Oh, isn't that nice to have that, to know that? Because I'm a person who, I was raised not to ask questions, and that you're supposed to do it all on your own. So anyone else like that? And so for somebody to say, "Oh yeah, I'm here for you and I'll answer questions," on my mind goes, "Oh, well, what do you need in exchange for that? What does that look like? Do I have to give you extra time? Can I ask you a question? Does it come with something else that I have to give back or whatever?" I mean, limitations, limiting myself for asking for help.
Well, I'll tell you another little thing about me that we may or may not have talked about yet, is that I believe in true collaborations. And that is the ecosystem that I've built out. Is a lot of people, when they recognize that I love to collaborate, would come and knock on my door and say, "Hey, Debbie, I want to collaborate." And I'd work hard and I'd build something out. And then they'd be like, "Thanks, I got what I needed," and I leave. I'm like, okay, there's another story to this. I need to figure it out. So what I did is I built out a system which you come in, and when you decide where you would like to be in my ecosystem, you've been mentored along. We have the same philosophy. And as those women reflected back to me today, is that that's what makes them feel safe and seen and heard. When they show up, when they align back to the mission and the vision within my ecosystem, I give them more opportunities to shine. And so this beautiful shine framework that I have continues to evolve and grow, and their businesses flourish because of it.
Yes. So that word collaboration, that can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people. And a lot of times people have experienced collaboration as very one-sided,
Yeah.
one person giving. So how has that worked for you where, and I know you said you bring them in, but give us a little bit more of an example of what collaboration means to you and how can it be an equal partnership where both people are coming in and giving and winning?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it is an individual thing, but what I'm doing is like, I'll just use you as an example if you don't mind,
Yep.
because I think that a lot of people will see this. So, I consider you like a power partner as well as a collaborator. Once we felt each other's heart and we knew that we were on the same mission, now I individually look at each person to where they are in the process, in the whole, I have a customer journey. So where are you on that customer journey? You happen to be somebody that already had a community and resources and such. So you actually zip right up into my higher tiered collaboration opportunities.
Mm.
So not so much mentorship as more masterminding and strategy together to build something out that's beneficial for both of our audiences. If we're not able to connect the dot back to our audiences, both our audiences, of why this is a good collaboration, then we've missed something in the middle of it. And me and you had a couple conversations to make sure we were on the right track here. And because of that, I now can go back to my trusted mentees and say, we're all in. This is going to work. This is going to be beautiful for all of us.
Yes. And to let our audience know, we have a special edition that is going to feature Debbie's women. It's going to celebrate them. And it is going to give all of you a little brave step to so we can come into your life and come alongside of you as well in this field guide, in this magazine that is going to be free downloadable. So it's really special. And Debbie, I think one of the things that I'm hearing here, you have thought this out. It's not like you're just jumping into it. I mean, you have your tiers of collaboration of where those people fit. And I think that's just really beautiful because you're not asking something of someone that they're not ready for. Maybe they're a leader here, but not higher. And you can really both benefit that way when it's very clear.
Yeah.
There's direction and and then that way it just lifts everybody up. And like you said too, just to have that space for your leaders to walk into being seen in a bigger sphere of influence, because we all have our spheres of influence, and to have that grow exponentially as we tap into these different markets of each person and bringing that together. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Bringing all these different pieces together and tapping into it. Let's put your person in this sphere and have her shine and be celebrated. But also then she's helping those people in that community. I just think it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I love to learn. And if all I ever did is go out and learned and invested in myself, that's where it would end. And I needed to be able to find a system that what I learn, I can help the leaders that believe in me, help them learn. And then we all grow because now I'm proving it, right? Not just teaching it. And so this model, as most models, were built on something that wasn't working. I believed in it. Everything in my system told me it could be possible, but I couldn't find it anywhere else. I couldn't see anybody else doing this until somebody said to me, and you need that person that reflects things back to me or to you. And that's hopefully what I do to most people. But I was lost. I was a little bit lost in how do I monetize the beautiful communities that I've built,
yes,
without tapping them out. And so how does this be expansive versus like narrow? And so this person reflected it back, said to me, Debbie, I've never seen anybody build communities like you do. You're very protective. You curate the conversations. You help everybody feel seen, heard, and valued. But they want to know what's next. They want to know what's possible when they get to work with you. And what I said to you before is I was collaborating with the highest tier and thinking, well, they have to get here before I can collaborate. I had to figure out do I bring in these people at whatever level such as my Shine Circle membership. They learn my philosophy, they get in my world, they say, oh, I love the way this feels. I want to learn from her. How do I get into a program with her, or a mentorship with her, or a mastermind with her? That's really what I'm doing, is leading people to choose that level of engagement they want, the level of mentorship they want. And when I say the cream rises to the top, when they rise to the top, then opportunities, they get tapped on the shoulder and say, I see you. I would love to have you come in and do such and such with me.
Yes, I can say, oh, wow, so many great things. I love that. It's like for leaders and emerging leaders, people, women who really are willing to step into their own. But I love what you said earlier too. It's not about perfection. You don't have to have already arrived. It's like, let's learn together. Let's expand together. And I noticed one of the words as I have come into some of your networking meetings and different gatherings, that the word nourish comes up a lot. And I feel like that it's more than just growing. It's really nourishing who you are to expand into your best you, if you will, and really sharing that, all that beauty and that brilliance that we have within, if you will. So let's talk a little bit about what is next. You talked about that. Women need to know what is next. So let's talk about what is. How can women come into your circle and be nurtured and nourished, and what is next for them?
Oh, I love this question and so excited. So I just put out a post that is save the date for December 9th and 10th. And all of the Shine mentors and partners and guest experts that have come into my world since July, when we really started the Shine Circle membership. I'll talk a little bit about that more. But these people have come in and they've really stepped up, and they're shining and building out a momentum and an expansion. What I'm going to give them, create a stage and an opportunity for them to be more visible. So we're calling it the Rise and Shine Ascension. And it really comes back into a year ago in January, I created the Visibility Challenge. Now, here's what happens when you build a circle of trust and influence. Inside of my Empowering You community, I just, out of intuition, knew that there was people in there that wanted to be more visible. I also knew what was holding them back from being more visible. Some of it is, you know, didn't get into a magazine, didn't raise your hand if there was a speaking opportunity. Some of it is mindset, some of it is skill set. But I knew that they needed to actually choose themselves and truly understand who they were in order to let their shine be seen so that they could be more visible. So I just put a post inside of my community and said, and maybe I went live and maybe it was a post, but I literally just said, hey, I have an idea for a visibility challenge. I thought it was going to be 3 weeks. That's it. In and out. Before Christmas, we're going to be done. Within an hour, I had filled all the spots, which is your trust, because when Debbie says something, she fills it instantly.
Yes.
And then we met, and I knew they wanted more than what I thought. And this is really what's happened, is we got together and did a 5-day visibility challenge where they invited their people into a community to really learn what it was like to shine. Why were you connected or disconnected? Why are you hiding? What are these things? So it's all about awareness. What happened with that is each of the people inside started to learn more about themselves, to decide more things, to step in more. So in July, that's when I created the mentorship and the Shine partner role. Now, each one of those is going to come and speak. Each one of them will either be on a panel or part of, you know, running their own keynote. But I'm going to create a stage for them to help others shine and rise and ascend together. And really what I'm doing there is inviting people into the ecosystem, the Shine Circle membership.
Right. And women, once they make that decision to shine, which is, like you said, is sometimes skill set, sometimes mindset. But once they make that decision, and I think once they know too, that there's a platform that they can show up,
Yeah.
and it's a safe platform. And that's the other thing that you have provided, not just that trust, it's very safe. It's very safe to show up, and it's okay to make a mistake. Those are, and I have seen that trust, and that is so important, because I've seen lots of communities, Debbie, and there's not that proof in the pudding. You can show up or whatever, but there's not you can actually see what has been produced within other humans in the community.
Yeah.
And that trust is very, it's very rare. And it's very difficult to build that, but you have built this safe community for women to step into. And it feels good. It's like, oh, okay. I was at one of your gatherings yesterday, and there was a new woman there, and I looked at her face, and she had this beautiful glow about her that she goes, you could just see on her face, like, oh, it's okay to be here. This is good. It took a little bit, and then you could just see her face relax and her smile come on. And that was just like, oh, this is the place I need to be.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I get those messages every day. Yeah. I didn't know I was longing for this. I didn't know that I didn't feel included. I've never been at an event that I felt so seen and heard and valued. And that's really my goal in any of this, because I believe that once I reflect back to you what your brilliance is and what your calling is, now you step into it. And once you step into it, then we talk about skill sets. And I can help you with all sorts of strategies and skill sets.
Yeah. It's the whole package. How beautiful is that? So tell us what else is on the horizon for these ladies that they can expect next, and what would you like to leave them with as we close out?
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to tell everybody about is the magazine that you are creating and publishing for us. And I mean, again, it's the way that I help recognize those people within my organization that really are stepping up and really believe in the mission, and they're doing everything they can. I help them be credible. I help them build authority. I help mentor them. But in return, then they get opportunities. As we all build circles of influence, we get to be in rooms with people that are, I am in awe some days of the rooms that I get into. And I want to be able to introduce other people to those people if it feels right, if it feels aligned. And so when I met you the very first time, which, by the way, I have to shout out to Rachel Vasquez, because that's how I actually met you, is through you guys doing a book. And then I kind of like scouted you out for a while to make sure you were the real deal. And then I reached out and said, I see something here.
Yeah.
And so when I trust an opportunity, I want to make sure my people get that opportunity, that it's not just about me. And so doing this special edition where it's 11 of us from the Be Extraordinary Women's Network, you're interviewing us, you're putting us in a magazine, our resources are going into your publications and your app. I mean, it's a dream come true for somebody that's building at the speed that I'm building. I need a trusted resource from the outside. And last week you interviewed us inside of the Being Brave tour, and you asked me what is something that I've done that really stretched me in being brave. And I had to admit that collaborating with you in this way was a stretch. Oh. I trust my people so much. I care for them so much. Yes. That in order to hand their stories over and the platform to somebody else to take care of, will you care as much as I care? Will their story be represented? Will the branding be done in a beautiful, luxurious way? And I have to just say that I'm already seeing the ripple effect of me stepping and stretching out what I knew was holding me back.
Yes. And you know what? This goes both ways. This is something new as I'm bringing this Being Brave tour. And this is something that has been on my heart, Debbie, for 10 years, to celebrate women and their stories. I started with a web show, and it's just come to this beautiful place where I can now reach out and not just take their story. I can take a little piece of their brilliance, their resources, these beautiful things that they're working on, and showcase it to help another woman take her brave step. Maybe she needs that little bit of love in, whether it's a piece of, working on her mindset or her heart or her intuition, or maybe it's a skill that she needs to learn. We can bring these things together with our trusted people that also care like you do.
Mm.
That's the piece that, because I have been very, very protective over my ladies. I'm just like this mama bear. It's like, I want to represent people in the best way possible. And I'm learning and growing as I go too. But to have this special issue and then to put you ladies to feature the stories and the Brilliance on a podcast too. And we can do it in written form, visual, we can have videos, we can do all these fun things and like create that bigger sphere of influence, that ripple effect of caring, spreading a little bit of love. That is my goal, is to spread a little bit of love across the U.S. next year. And this is the way that I'm doing it. So I'm just so thrilled that you have trusted me to nurture your ladies and to share their brilliance and their beauty. So it's a beautiful thing that we can come together.
Yeah, so good. And then the last thing is I'm bringing in my next cohort of mentors. And so again, they've come from my trusted people that have kind of been in there peeking in. How do I get more involved, Debbie? How do I do this? And so my next cohort of mentors is coming into the Shine Circle. And the Shine Circle itself, the membership is growing, and we're going to be doing a big thing. And so how do you get in? There's ways to get in for free. There's ways to come in at a very, very low cost as a founder inside of the Shine Circle. And there's ways to step up and be a partner or a mentor once you're in my world and once you've shown up and seen what we stand for.
Yes, I love that piece. And that's what I noticed is that you don't just come into this community and learn. You get to be one of the mentors. And that is rare. And in the way that you do it too, because, sometimes people just get to speak or whatever, but you really lift those ladies up and allow them to be leaders versus just coming and speaking. You let them, interact with the women and really be those mentors, which is rare in a community because that's hard to incorporate. If you're a coach and teaching and you've got this community, to then also be willing to let other people lead within it. Because you have to let go of something when you do that, and you trust them to lead.
And that's why I need them to come in first and peek in and show up and do all the things so we can build that out. Karen, one of the other things that I'll just share right now as a resource is that I told you earlier that we have the Shine framework, and I've been leading with the Shine framework for a long time, but I invited my mentors, those that have heard me speak about it. How do I do it? How do they do it? How are we connecting the dots back to your business and your truth and what you offer? And I invited them to come in, and we created a 6-part series explaining what it is. And each of the mentors would say, here's how it looks like with my clients. Here's how I use this framework with my clients. And that's an absolute free series for anybody to watch. But it was my way of guiding and leading and helping them to connect the dots in a real way that they can honestly share the Shine framework and the mentorship in such a proud way. I want to highlight them, but I also want them to highlight back. This is the give and take that works. And it only works if we can connect those dots and create a through line.
Yes. And we have to learn how to do that. That doesn't come natural to everybody. So to have some, hey, this is how we can share and work. But that to see how that Shine framework works in somebody else's world. Oh boy, that's great. So we will put the link for that, ladies, in the show notes and in the comments here too. So you can all take advantage of that. So what's a piece of inspiration or encouragement you would like to leave the ladies with?
Yeah, I'll keep it really, really short. Shine your unique light. I promise you that your things that you've gone through, your life's experiences that you figured out the answer to, someone else is praying for those answers. So shine so brightly, tell your stories, share your gifts, and really be part of the ripple that the world is needing right now.
Oh my goodness. ladies, we are going to leave it at that because that is so aligned with what we're doing right here on the Being Brave Tour, and to have a platform. So I invite women to come and share their story here on our platform. You can do it in written form, you can come speak it, or you can be interviewed, or come to apply to be in our magazine and share your beauty and your brilliance with us here. So have a great day, ladies. We'll see you next time.